Sacramento Kings are approaching their most consequential offseason in years, an opportunity to choose between doubling down in pursuit of contention or pivoting toward a future reset. Having already traded away both Tyrese Haliburton and De'Aaron Fox in recent seasons, the Kings are now left with a core that blends veteran experience and limited superstar potential. Domantas Sabonis, Zach LaVine, and DeMar DeRozan. Yet despite their combined talents, the roster has failed to break through in the postseason, with team owner Vivek Ranadivé and executive vice president of basketball operations Scott Perry showing a willingness to overhaul. Sacramento is at a pivotal crossroads, one that could reshape the franchise's identity for years to come. Will Jaylen Brown be the answer to their questions? In the swirl of trade speculation, one name has erupted to the top of the Kings' wish list: Jaylen Brown. As reported by Pro Football Network, Sacramento has emerged as a reported suitor for the All-Star wing, with credible sources suggesting early momentum and genuine interest in his talents. Multiple NBA insiders describe the discussions as serious, not just idle chatter. Zach Lowe of ESPN echoed that sentiment, reporting real smoke surrounding potential trade talks. That level of intrigue signals more than wishful thinking. It suggests the Kings are preparing a bold bid. Adding Jaylen Brown would instantly inject Sacramento with a premier scoring wing, elite perimeter defense, and playoff experience that the current core lacks. Brown, still just 28, carries a 5-year, $285 million contract that runs through his early 30s. While expensive, his age aligns with the Kings' window, which appears to be in full bloom. Brown's arrival would help bridge the gap between a promising group and a potential contender, offering a two-way presence that elevates both ends of the court. Of course, bringing in Brown would require serious financial gymnastics. Integrating his contract would strain Sacramento's cap flexibility and force decisions about other key pieces. Should the Kings surrender production from the likes of LaVine or DeRozan, or lean heavily into draft capital? That cost-benefit calculation is precisely why the franchise's front office finds itself balancing two fundamentally different philosophies: going all in now with a major acquisition or staggering toward a broader rebuild. For Boston, the calculus is equally complicated, with draft capital freed up after moving Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. The Celtics are exploring trade options around both Brown and Derek White, though they have yet to commit. Boston's leadership will evaluate the risks of parting with an elite two-way wing against the potential influx of trade assets or roster realignment. Jaylen Brown still figures prominently in the team's championship aspirations, but the window for roster flexibility is narrowing. Injuries to stars like Jason Tatum have underscored the necessity of adding choices, whether through internal development, contract repricing, or trade maneuvers. Sacramento is likely to frame a compelling trade package, potentially offering a mix of their veterans, expiring contracts, and future draft selections. Names like DeMar DeRozan, Kelly Oubre Jr., or Malik Monk have surfaced in trade rumor circles as suitable pieces to balance both talent and salary. But Boston will certainly demand more, and trading for Brown would force the Kings to commit fully to contention rather than hover in the playoff backlot. If Sacramento opts against acquiring Brown, the franchise may pivot toward assembling future assets and younger high-upside talent. After giving up two high-end point guards in recent deals, Sacramento finds itself light on draft capital, a point underlined by Athletic's earlier coverage on the Kings' 2025 draft needs. Without Brown, the path forward may involve quietly accumulating picks or identifying undervalued players whom the organization can develop over time. This strategy gives Sacramento the flexibility to rebuild slowly, but carries the risk of missing the current Western playoff cycle, especially if rivals like Phoenix or Dallas continue to strengthen. The stakes couldn't be higher. A trade for Jaylen Brown would stand as the boldest move of Sacramento's rebuild era, signaling a refusal to rebuild completely and a commitment to start with top-tier talent. But failure to land him won't leave the Kings static. It would force them to question their path, evaluate asset distribution, and double down on either grandiose ambition or disciplined long-term planning. As the NBA world watches Sacramento's next moves, one truth remains clear: this summer will reveal whether the Kings view their core as ready to rise or ripe for reinvention. Whether Jaylen Brown arrives or not, Sacramento's direction will echo loudly through the coming seasons. And for fans still hunger pangs from playoff promises unmet, the front office's decision may be the last chance to shift the narrative, either toward the spotlight of contention or a steady, purposeful climb back to relevance. Jaylen Brown is one of the most talked about about names in this offseason, and for good reason. After helping the Celtics win a championship in 2024, many people expected Boston to keep their core together, but things are changing fast. With the Celtics deep into luxury tax territory and needing to make big decisions, rumors about Brown being traded are getting stronger, and now the Sacramento Kings are showing serious interest in making a move for him. According to recent reports, the Kings are one of the few teams willing to take on Brown's huge contract. He's set to make around $53 million next season, which is a massive number, but Sacramento believes that adding a player like Brown could finally make them a true contender in the West. They've made the playoffs a few times now, but haven't made a deep run. Pairing Brown with De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis could be the game-changing move they need. Right now, the Kings are looking for a player who can bring both defense and scoring. Brown fits that perfectly. He's a two-way star who can guard top players and still give you 25 points a night. Sacramento knows that they have a good team, but they've lacked that true second star behind Fox. If they pull off this trade, they'd have one of the best trios in the league, and they'd be sending a message to the rest of the NBA that they're no longer just a young team with potential. They want to win now. On the Celtics side, things are more complicated. They don't want to break up a championship roster unless they feel like they have no other choice. But with Jason Tatum's next big contract coming soon, and with the league's financial rules putting pressure on teams with high payrolls, Boston might be forced to make a tough call. Trading Brown would help them avoid the second tax apron, which limits how teams can build their rosters. If they don't act soon, it could hurt them in the long run. The real question is, what would Sacramento have to give up? Most trade talks around the Kings and Brown include names like Keegan Murray, Kevin Huerter, and Davion Mitchell, along with draft picks. The Celtics would want young talent and future assets to balance Brown's value. Some rumors also suggest the Kings might offer Harrison Barnes to make the salaries match, or even explore a three-team trade to make things smoother. From Sacramento's side, the deal makes a lot of sense. Brown is still only 28 years old, with several years left in his prime. He brings playoff experience, elite defense, and a winning mindset. And let's not forget, Brown just won Finals MVP a year ago. That kind of player doesn't hit the market very often. The Kings haven't had a star like that since Chris Webber, and landing Brown would be a massive moment for the franchise. For Brown, a trade to Sacramento might not be the big market move some expect, but it could be a good fit. He'd still be the second option behind Fox, and he'd get a chance to lead a rising team in a competitive Western Conference. Plus, he'd be playing for a front office that really wants him, something that matters to players looking to make a fresh start. So what's holding the deal back? The biggest issue is risk. The Kings would have to give up some of their young core, and they'd be committing to one of the biggest contracts in NBA history. Meanwhile, the Celtics would be betting on their ability to stay competitive without one of their two stars. It's a high-stakes move for both teams, but one that might make sense if they're serious about chasing titles or managing their financial future. There's also the question of timing. Boston might wait until after the NBA draft or early in free agency to make a final decision. They'll likely listen to offers from other teams too, like the Rockets or even the Lakers, before choosing their best option. Still, all signs point to the Kings being one of the most aggressive suitors. They've built a strong culture, they have a stable front office, and they've been quietly looking for a big move to take the next step. Jaylen Brown might just be that move. If this trade happens, it could change the balance of power in the West. Sacramento would instantly become a top 4 team in the conference, while Boston would reset their roster for the future. And if Brown thrives with the Kings, it could become one of the most impactful trades of the 2025 offseason.